had the idea that it might be something that's just argued from the podium. Is that right, sir? Did you wish to put on your client?
I can't put her on, Your Honor.
Do you wish to do that?
I do, Your Honor.
Ms. Moser, we'll have you come up here. We'll raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Ms. Moser, as you move up to the microphone, you'll need to talk to the microphone. She's recording your voice, and we're able to hear it also, so make sure you talk to the microphone, please. Tell me your name, ma'am.
Brittany Moser.
And spell the first for me.
B-R-I-T-T-A-Y.
And M-O-S-E-R?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm putting Ms. Moser on the stand for the purposes of background information.
General, did you understand that?
Judge, I understand that. One issue I would just bring up before we go into this is obviously she's up here testifying under oath. Her credibility becomes an issue of what her background is, what her type of community is.
Those are the things I think that are important to the court as it's making its determination.
I think that may open up the ability for me to cross-examine truthful and untruthful statements she gave in the past to officers and agents, and that might open her up to some things that could possibly. I just want to make us all aware.
Mr. Bryant, make your motion or make your objections as the state is asking its questions.
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead, sir.
State your name, please, ma'am.
Brittany Moser.
And Ms. Moser, how long have you been incarcerated?
About 6 months.
All right. Prior to your incarceration, what was your address?
1872 Railroad Street, apartment 14 in Dayton.
Dayton, Tennessee. And how long have you lived there?
A little over a year.
Prior to that address, where did you live? Was it also in Dayton?
Yes, sir.
How long have you lived in Dayton, Tennessee?
About 10 years.
Prior to living in Dayton, Tennessee, where did you live?
Pilot.
Okay. And prior to that, where did you live?
Dayton.
And how old are you?
26.
How long have you lived in Tennessee?
About 12 years. Yes, sir.
At the time of your arrest, were you employed?
Yes, sir.
Were you employed?
Parties in Dayton.
How long have you been employed there?
A little over a year.
Had you maintained employment for most of the 12 years that you lived in Tennessee?
From the time I was 18 years.
Do you own a passport?
No, sir.
Do you have a job waiting in St. Ron,
I could probably get one for a year.
but you don't have one waiting right now? Do you have any cash savings or any money in the bank?
No, sir.
Do you have any ability, if you chose to try to leave the country, that you could do that?
No, sir.
Do you have relatives in Dayton, Tennessee?
Yes, sir.
How many of those are?
My brother Josh and my mom, Jen.
Do you have any children?
Yes, sir.
How many?
One.
And what's her name?
Hayden.
How old is Hazel?
6.
Do you realize that if the judge sets a bond and you post it, that there might be special conditions placed on that bond?
Yes, sir.
Are you willing to abide by the special conditions the court may place on the bond that may be set?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever failed to appear for a court appearance previous to this case?
No, sir. No, sir.
Have you been in court prior to this case?
Just for child support.
Pardon me? For what?
Child support.
Child support?
Child support that you owed or was owed to you?
It was over me.
But I think that's everything.
Cross-examination?
Okay, Ms. Moser, I want to take you back in time to the 12th day of September 2013. I think that's probably a day, right around that day, that you probably remember very well as you sat here today. Would you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you know Jacob Bennett, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you know why you're sitting here today, is that correct?
In a way, yes.
In a way. Okay. What's your understanding of why you're sitting here today?
What I was told, because I was there when it happened.
Okay. I'm going to object to the line of questioning that facts and statements regarding current and service
And so, General, are we going somewhere with this?
We are, Your Honor.
Go ahead, we'll see what it is. I'll overrule the objection for now. Ask you next.
Okay. And so, as you just said, because you were there when this took place, you were, after this incident that landed you here, you were questioned by, you recall being questioned by law enforcement people after it happened.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you were not truthful at that time to law enforcement personnel, were you?
I
Your Honor,
was.
I'm going to object to questions regarding the statements that she made regarding
She said she was truthful to them. Ask you next.
Okay. You said you were truthful.
Yes.
So is it your testimony here today? And you recall you gave a statement to Agent Legg with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. It was actually an audio recorded statement around the 12th day of September.
I don't really know what that was.
But you remember doing that?
Yes, sir.
And is it your position here today that you always told law enforcement that you were there? Now, you're under oath. You understand that?
Let me stop you just for a minute. Do you understand his question?
No.
His question is, did you tell law enforcement at the time you were originally interviewed that you were there at this place?
Your Honor, will lodge another objection. Again, that goes to statements and facts regarding pending offense.
What, let me ask you this now. Did you make two different statements to law enforcement?
No.
Very good. Ask you next.
Again, my question is, when you were initially asked by law enforcement,
Objection is sustained. Next question.
Your Honor, if I may,
The objection sustained.
I understand.
Okay.
So your testimony is that you were consistent in what you said about your involvement and whether you were there or not there the night this happened.
Do you understand that question?
Not really.
Okay.
Let me rephrase that. My question is, every time you spoke to law enforcement, you were consistent in telling them that you were there the night these murders happened.
Your Honor, I'm going to re-lodge my objection.
Sustained. Sustained.
Your Honor, goes to credibility.
I understand. And she's answered the question. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Further for you?
No, Your Honor.
You may step down. And further proof?
Not from the bench, Your Honor.
Very good. For the state,
No, thank you, David.
Agent Friel, if you'll come up. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So
I do.
I see. And tell our court reporter your name, sir.
My name is Dan Friel, F-R-I-E-L.
Thank you, sir.
Now, Agent Friel, if I may, I want to ask you a couple of questions here that deal with a couple of issues, just for purposes of bond. Were you the agent that investigated, the lead agent of the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation that headed the investigation into these quadruple homicides?
Yes, I am.
And that was on or about 12th day, September 2013, correct?
Yes.
All right. And as part of the investigation, Brittany Moser's name you became aware of that name, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Now, since then, you have looked into the background of Ms. Moser, is that right?
Yes.
And heading up this investigation, you get information from different agents that are helping you and assisting, correct?
Yes.
All right. And are you aware of Ms. Moser? Does she have any ties to the Cumberland County community?
No ties to the Cumberland County community.
And that is, of course, here we are today. That's where this is charged,
Yes.
correct? And the next question is, are you aware, did Ms. Moser make statements to law enforcement agents?
She did. On September 12th, Special Agent Jason Legg interviewed Ms. Moser along with the Lieutenant Hill of the Dayton Police Department.
Okay. And that interview was captured on audio, is that correct?
Yes, it was.
And I think it was also transcribed.
Yes, sir.
And you were made aware of that, you've listened to it, you've seen the transcript, is that correct?
Yes.
And it was Ms. Moser on that statement, is that right?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Tell me about the consistency of her statement during the course of that interview.
She was not very consistent. It seemed like her story had changed quite a few times. Initially, she was not there. She was not with Mr. Bennett. And then as the evening went on, as the investigation progressed, she admitted that she was there with him.
Okay. And she discussed several things during that statement in relation to her knowledge before they, being her and Mr. Bennett, went up to Renegade Mountain that night. Is that correct?
Yes.
And just tell us a overview of what during her statement, the difference between what she said she knew and didn't know.
Early on in the interview, she had told Agent Legg that she knew that Mr. Bennett was going to kill the people that he was meeting at Renegade.
Okay.
And then later on, it went to Mr. Bennett was going to get a dime bag. And
when you say dime bag, that on the street and in your experience investigation, that refers to what?
marijuana.
Marijuana. Okay, continue.
And then later on, she had told Agent Legg that Mr. Bennett was going to rob the people that he was meeting. And
The people at Renegade Mountain.
at the people of Renegade Mountain.
Okay.
And that he was just going to use the gun to scare them, as opposed to what she said earlier, that he was going to kill them. And the story just continued to evolve.
Okay, and she didn't, during her statement, did she explain what she witnessed while she was there?
What's the objection?
Your Honor, to the continuing statements of my client regarding the statements and allegations concerning her statements as relates to the present charge of principal purpose of the bond hearing.
Overruled. The strength of the state's case is important for the court to understand as it makes its ruling. Go ahead.
And so, did she, and not asking you detail about it, but did she explain what she witnessed while she was there the night at Renegade when these homicides took place?
She did.
And then did she go on to explain what took place immediately after it in relation to the defendant Bennett's actions and hers?
Yes, she did.
Did she explain where they went after the homicide?
She did.
And where did she say they went?
They went to a kangaroo station there in Dayton, went to the Red Box, got a couple movies, went back to her place and watched part of one movie before she fell asleep.
Okay. And did she explain at any time, did she say she ran away from him as soon as she could?
No.
Did she at any time explain that she called law enforcement as soon as she could?
No.
Did she at any time say that she tried to alert a neighbor or anybody that was around her about what had just taken place?
No.
What did she say that she did the next morning? And where was defendant Bennett the next morning?
They were there at her apartment. When she woke up, the defendant was actually cleaning the Glock that was used. And then she went on and said that the defendant took a shower and then just went out the regular day. I believe she got a call from the babysitter, the neighbor, saying she had to pick her child up.
And did she at any point in time say that during that morning he was cleaning the gun that she tried to alert law enforcement or authorities?
No.
Now, at some time during the investigation, did you have dispatched to her residence early on any law enforcement?
Yes, Dayton police actually went to her residence early that morning because information had come up that she might have been Mr. Bennett's girlfriend. And they actually made contact with Ms. Moser at her residence there at the apartment.
And this would be during the time frame that he was cleaning his gun and he was there this morning, according to her statement, correct?
Around that time.
Okay. And law enforcement, they report back to you about what took place there when they confronted Ms. Moser?
Yes,
And
yes.
what was that?
I believe she told them that he wasn't there, or she might even have said that, I don't know who he is. I'm not sure. I would have to go back and read her statement.
Now, I'll ask you this one question, and you may be that you have to refresh your memory on this, but the weapon that was involved in this crime, do we know whose name the weapon was in it? Was there a trace on it?
I'm sure there was. I would have to go
that's
back.
fine. That's fine. That's all.
You wish to cross-examine this witness?
No question, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. Further for the state.
That's all.
to address any rebuttal for the defense?
No, Your Honor.
What's the state's position?
Judge, the state has not filed at this time a notice to seek death penalty against this defendant. So by Tennessee state law, she's entitled to a bond. The state's position that this is a quadruple homicide case. The defendant has no ties to this community. The defendant also is inconsistent and covered up and was there present at the scene. You've heard evidence today about what she did before, what she knew before when they went up there, what took place there, and her actions after. And all of that, coupled with no ties to the community, bolsters a strength of the case that you've heard just a piece of the state's case, as well as no ties. So the state is going to ask for a bond in the amount of $5 million. We think that's appropriate. You have 4 first-degree murders here. It has been consistent in the Upper Cumberland area. Homicide cases can be anywhere around $500,000 to over $1 million for one single first-degree murder, and we think that's appropriate in this case.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bryan?
Your Honor, certainly I would agree with the general that the bond should be set, that she's entitled under our statutes and constitution to have a bond set. Certainly $5 million is excessive in this case. I realize this isn't a misdemeanor case and the charges are very serious. However, the testimony is that she has ties to Tennessee. She's lived here for over 12 years. She's indigent. I was appointed to represent her. She has no funds with which to collect the plea if she chose to. She has no means to I would submit leave Tennessee, let alone leave the country if she did try to flee. Your Honor is aware also in setting bonds that should not be set excessive as a means to guarantee her appearance in court. Testimony was undisputed. She never had to be in court, never failed to make a court appearance. That should mean that the bond obviously was a bond in the amount of $250,000 in this case.
Thank you, sir. The court must set a bond where death is not sought. Death not being sought in this case, the court is going to set a bond. The court agrees with the state that the proof which has been presented today, and it's obvious to this court that that's not all the proof that there is, nor is there any real defense that's put up, shows that there is a strong case made that the defendant was with the shooter at the time of the homicides, that she was active, took an active role prior to and after. Criminal responsibility for the offense may be shown and a jury could find, and the court believes that she is a co-defendant whose ties to these crimes is likely to be shown at trial. No ties to the community, no real job opportunity to go back to. The court's going to set a $1 million bond. Prior to any bond being made, the court asked that there would be a hearing which is set to show the source of the funds that are being used to make that bond. The court wants to make sure that the bonds are not illegally obtained. If she can make a bond of that amount, I don't know why she has an attorney that's appointed to represent her. I appreciate your role in this, Mr. Bryan, but that's something that the court needs to look at closely if she's able to gather these kinds of funds to make this type of a bond for property. She can make it any way that the sheriff will allow it, corporate bond or property bond, any way that the sheriff is comfortable with her making the bond. So $1 million bond is set.